I'm standing in a hotel ballroom that smells like burnt coffee and fake confidence. Watching my wife thank everyone but me. Her name is Ashley. Mine's Mike. We've been married 8 years. I know the exact freckle pattern on her left shoulder and the sound she makes when she lies. She's making that sound right now. Stretching vowels, smiling too wide, playing the room like it owes her money. She's on a small stage holding a glass plaque that says Senior Director. Everyone's clapping already, but she lifts a hand for more. She always loved control. I owe it all to my coworkers, she says. Applause. And my boss, she adds, eyes flicking toward the front table where Brian sits with his tie loosened and his hand on his drink for his support, especially at night. That gets a laugh, a few whistles, then she says it clean, sharp, public. My husband never had what it takes. Boom. Applause again. Louder, like they just watched a knockout. I feel it hit my chest before my brain catches up. My ears ring. I see Brian clap a little too hard. Ashley doesn't look at me. She's already soaking it in. Already drunk on it. That's when I really know that the rumors, the late nights, the locked phone, the fake fights. Yeah, this isn't new. This is her victory lap. So, I stand up. The room quiets in that confused, polite way. I walk down the aisle with a wrapped box I've been holding for 20 minutes, waiting. Navy paper, silver ribbon. I practice this part in my head a dozen times and still almost laugh when I hear myself speak. From your biggest failure, I say and place it in her hands. Her smile freezes just for a second, enough for me to enjoy it. Then I walk out. I don't hear the screaming until I'm halfway to the parking lot. Let me back up. This didn't start tonight. Tonight was just the explosion. The affair started months ago, maybe longer. I didn't catch her in bed with someone or read some dramatic text that said, "I can't wait to touch you." It was smaller than that, dirtier. Ashley stopped asking me questions. She stopped complaining. She stopped fighting. That's how I knew something was wrong. Ashley loves fighting. Silence was her tell. Then there were the changes. New perfume, gym clothes that never went to the gym. Late meetings with Brian, always Brian, who suddenly knew our dog's name and my work schedule. Funny that she'd come home glowing like she'd been plugged into a wall. She'd toss her phone face down, kiss my cheek like she was checking a box, and head to the shower, humming. She never hummed with me anymore. One night, I asked her straight up if she was messing around. She laughed. Actually laughed. God, Mike, you're so insecure. That's why you'll never grow. That was her favorite word lately. Never. A week later, I found the hotel receipt in her jacket pocket. Wrong city. Week night, 2 glasses of wine, 1 room, her name, Brian's loyalty number. I didn't confront her then. I waited. I watched, I collected screenshots, voicemails she forgot to delete, a calendar invite titled Strategy Sync that ran from 9 p.m. to midnight. Strategy my ass. By the time the promotion speech rolled around, I knew everything. I knew about the after-hours mentoring, the backseat encounters, the cheap motel off Route 9 where they do their censor gymnastics and laugh about me after. She didn't even bother hiding how little she respected me. That's the part that hurt most, not the betrayal, the contempt. Ashley didn't just cheat. She replaced me in her head before she ever left the house. So yeah, when she took that mic tonight and decided to humiliate me in front of 100 people, it felt fitting, like the universe lining things up. The box I gave her wasn't a gift. It was a mirror. Inside were printed screenshots, hotel receipts, audio transcripts, a flash drive labeled Brian Knight Support, and on top a single note asterisk enjoy your promotion. HR will too. Asterisk I didn't stay to see her open it. I didn't need to. The screen told me everything. Part of me felt sick. Another part felt light, like I'd finally set down something heavy I'd been carrying alone. I sat in my car, hands shaking, listening to my phone explode with missed calls from Ashley, Brian, and a number I didn't recognize. Probably HR already. I didn't answer. For the first time in months, the silence didn't feel empty. Felt earned. Part 2, the aftershock. I drove for 20 minutes before I realized I had no destination. Just street lights, red signals, my hands locked at 10 and 2 like the wheel might run away if I let go. My phone kept buzzing in the cup holder, rattling like it was laughing at me. Ashley's name lit the screen over and over. I didn't answer. Then a new one, Brian. Bold as hell. I declined that too. A third number popped up, unknown. That one I picked up because I was already past caring. Michael, a woman said, calm, corporate calm. This is Karen from Human Resources. Of course it was. I hung up without saying a word and pulled into a gas station. Hands shaking so bad I had to sit there for a minute and breathe like I was relearning how. That scream from the ballroom kept replaying in my head. Not surprise, rage. The kind that comes when someone loses control of a story they thought they owned. I got home around midnight. The house was dark except for the kitchen light. Ashley's car wasn't there. I laughed. Not a happy laugh. One of those short, broken ones that slips out before you can stop it. I poured a drink. Then another. Then my phone buzzed again. You ruined my life. She texted. No apology. No explanation. Just blame. Classic Ashley. I sat at the kitchen table and finally let myself feel it. Not the anger that had already burned clean. What hit me was the humiliation. The way she said it, never had what it takes. Like I was a failed audition she'd endured. I remembered the early years when she worked late and I brought dinner to her office. When she cried about being overlooked and I told her she was better than all of them. When she said she couldn't have done it without me. Turns out she was right. She just meant without me present. At 1:12 a.m., the front door slammed so hard a picture fell off the wall. Ashley stormed in like a hurricane with heels, mascara streaked, hair wild. That polished executive shell gone. She looked straight at me and pointed like I was a criminal. You are a sick, jealous, small man. She snapped. Do you have any idea what you've done? I took a sip of my drink. You embarrassed yourself just fine without my help. She laughed. Hi, cruel. You planned this. You waited for my moment. No, I said you gave me the moment. I just didn't waste it. She threw her purse across the room. It hit the wall and spilled out everything she pretended she didn't carry. Lipstick, keys, a hotel key card, same logo as the receipt. I nudged it with my foot. That from Brian's strategy session? Her face twisted. Don't say his name. Why? I asked. He say mine enough when you're doing your late-night cardio. She lunged at me then not to hit. She's not that brave but to dominate space to tower and scare. I didn't move. That pissed her off more than anything. You think you won? She hissed. You think anyone will side with you? You're nothing. Carried you. I outgrew you. That's funny. I said because HR just called. She froze just for a second, but it was enough. You didn't, she said. Not a question. I did, I replied. And legal and compliance. Funny thing about bosses dipping into the company supply. They hate that. Her mask cracked. Panic flashed. Then rage came roaring back louder. You're dead to me, she spat. I gave you everything. No, I said quietly. You took everything. She went upstairs and started ripping drawers open. Clothes hit the floor. A lamp crashed. More sudden noise. More wreckage. She came back down with a suitcase half-zipped. Fury driving every step. This is your fault, she said. If you'd been more of a man. I cut her off. Get out. She smiled then. A nasty little curl of the lip. Gladly. Enjoy being alone. That's all you're good at. She left. Tires screeched. Silence followed. I sat there until dawn, watching the light creep in through the blinds, realizing something strange. I wasn't broken. I was bruised. Yeah. Angry, sad. But under it all was relief. Like I'd been holding my breath for months and finally exhaled. By noon, my phone had a voicemail from Karen, 2 from Brian, and 1 text from Ashley's mother asking what I'd done to her daughter. I deleted all of it. Then I opened my laptop and started looking for a lawyer. Not out of revenge, out of clarity. That night at the ballroom wasn't the end. It was the beginning of the truth. And once the truth is out, there's no stuffing it back in a wrapped box. Part 3 is where things get messy. Part 3, the unraveling. By Monday morning, the story had grown legs and learned how to run. I woke up to 27 notifications and a hangover made of pure regret and cheap whiskey. Ashley's company email domain was trending in my inbox like it owed me money. People I hadn't spoken to in years suddenly cared how I was doing. That's how you know things are bad, when silence breaks out in sympathy. First came the voicemail from Karen again. This time her voice wasn't calm. It was tight. Legal tight. "Michael, we need to speak immediately." Then Brian texted. "No hello. No apology. Just you don't know what you've started." I laughed out loud in my empty kitchen. The sound surprised me. Ashley didn't come home. Instead, she sent a text that read like a hostage note written by ego. "I'm staying with a friend. Don't touch my things." I texted back one word. "Lawyer," she replied with 6 paragraphs of venom. I didn't read past the first sentence. Around noon, I walked into a downtown office with frosted glass and fake plants and told a woman named Linda everything. She didn't gasp. She didn't judge. She just nodded and took notes like betrayal was a spreadsheet. "Document everything," she said. "And don't engage with her unless it's through me." That was the moment it became real. Not a fight, not drama process. By Tuesday, Ashley's promotion plaque was gone from the company website. By Wednesday, Brian's LinkedIn headline quietly changed to "on leave." By Thursday, the rumors were louder than facts and Ashley was calling non-stop. I answered once, "Big mistake, you smug little bastard," she snapped. "You're enjoying this." "No," I said, "I'm surviving it." She laughed bitter and sharp. "You think this makes you the hero? You still weren't enough." That word again. Enough. "You didn't cheat because I wasn't enough." I said, "You cheated because you wanted to feel bigger." Silence. Then she went low. That was her specialty. She told me she never loved me the way I thought. That she'd been bored for years. That Brian understood her ambition in ways I never could. That the nights she came home late glowing were the best she'd had in a long time. I let her talk. Every sentence dug its own grave. When she finished, I said, "We're done. Don't call me again." She screamed something after that. I hung up. That night, I found the spare bedroom trashed. She come by while I was out. Taken clothes, jewelry, a framed photo of us on our honeymoon, but not the passport. She left that behind. Figures. What she didn't take were the memories she tried to rewrite. The dinners, the stupid jokes, the nights we talked until 3 a.m. Those were mine. She didn't get to erase them just because she decided to become someone else. Friday brought the collapse. Karen called again. This time, she didn't dance around it. "There is an internal investigation." She said, "Your wife and her supervisor violated multiple policies. There may be terminations." I pictured Ashley's face when control slipped through her fingers. The same one from the ballroom. The same scream. I felt something close to pity. Almost. That evening, Ashley showed up unannounced. No heels this time. Sweatpants, red eyes. She looked smaller, not humbled, cornered. "You didn't have to destroy everything," she said, sitting on the couch like she still belonged there. "You did that," I replied. "I just told the truth." She leaned forward. "We can fix this." I stared at her. "You humiliated me in public. You lied for months. You treated me like a prop. And now you want to fix it." She rolled her eyes. "God, you're dramatic." There it was. The disrespect. "Even now I want half," she said flatly. "And I want you to stop cooperating with HR." I stood up. "You should leave," she smirked. "Or what?" Or you'll hear from my lawyer again. She stood too, stepped close, tried to reclaim space like she used to. You think anyone will ever want you after this? You're bitter, damaged. I met her eyes. You confuse damage with awareness. She slapped the door frame on the way out. Another sudden noise. Another exit. When the door closed, the house didn't feel empty. Felt quiet. Honest. I slept better that night than I had in months. Not because things were okay, but because they were finally real, and real even when it hurts. Beats living in someone else's lie. Part 4. The free fall. The divorce papers didn't feel real until I held them. Heavy, sharp-edged, like something you could cut yourself on if you weren't careful. Linda slid them across the table and said, "Sign when you're ready. The way doctors say this will sting." I signed anyway. Ashley didn't fight at first. That surprised me. For a week, she went quiet. No calls, no texts, no ambushes. I almost believed she'd accepted it. That was mistake number 1. She came back swinging the moment she realized the narrative wasn't bending her way. First, she told people I was unstable, that I'd been emotionally unavailable, that my little stunt at the promotion speech was proof I was jealous and vindictive. Funny how she forgot to mention the nightly support sessions with Brian. Then she went after money. Claimed I'd sabotaged her career. Claimed emotional distress. Claimed I owed her for lost potential. Linda read the filing and Ashley sighed. "She's reaching," she said. "Judges hate that." Ashley didn't care. She never did. Winning mattered more than reality. A week later, she showed up at my job. I work in a quiet office. Glass walls. People who avoid drama like it's contagious. Ashley walked in like she owned the place. Heels clicking, chin up, eyes hunting. She found me in the break room. "So this is where you hide," she said loudly. Everyone froze, forks midair, microwave beeping like it wanted no part of this. "You need to leave," I said calmly. She laughed. "You always were afraid of conflict." "No," I said. "I just don't enjoy public embarrassment the way you do." That hit. She flushed, stepped closer, lowered her voice. "You think you're clean in all this?" She hissed. "You think you didn't push me into his arms?" "There it is," I said. "Blame," she smiled. A mean thin smile. "You weren't touching me. You weren't exciting. You stopped trying." I looked at her. Really looked. The woman who used to cry if I forgot to text back. The woman who now used intimacy like a weapon and shame like a hobby. "You didn't cheat because I stopped trying." I said, "You cheated because you wanted applause." Her eyes went cold. "You're pathetic." Security escorted her out. That was a new one. By Friday, Brian was fired. That news came from a mutual acquaintance who sounded almost guilty, telling me. HR made it official. He said, "No severance." Ashley called an hour later, screaming, not crying. Screaming. "You did this." She yelled. He lost everything. I held the phone away from my ear. He lost his job. I said, "You lost your marriage." I lost my trust. Nobody wins here. She sobbed then. Real sobs for about 10 seconds. Then she snapped back into herself. "You'll regret this," she said. I swear. That's when I stopped responding altogether. The weeks blurred after that. Lawyers, paperwork, boxes, friends picking sides. Some surprised me by staying, others vanished. Turns out loyalty has a shorter shelf life than I thought. I moved into a smaller place across town. Nothing fancy, clean, quiet, no memories baked into the walls. The first night there, I sat on the floor with takeout and realized I could breathe without bracing for impact. Ashley didn't handle the shift well. She started showing up places I was. Grocery store, gym, once outside my building, always with something sharp to say. "You look tired." She sneered once. "Divorce aging you." I shrugged. Peace has a learning curve. She rolled her eyes. "You're acting like a victim." "No, I said I'm acting like someone who learned. That made her furious. The last time we spoke in person was in a courthouse hallway. Neutral ground, bad lighting, worse energy. She leaned in and whispered. You think you're better than me now? I shook my head. No, just done. Her face twisted. Not anger this time. Fear. The kind that shows up when someone realizes they no longer have leverage. The judge finalized things quickly. Assets split. No alimony. No apology. Ashley walked out like she'd swallowed glass. I walked out lighter. That night, alone in my new place, I poured a drink and sat by the window. City humming, life moving. I thought about the speech, the box, the scream, how everything detonated in one public moment. People ask if I regret it. I don't, because if I hadn't done it then, I'd still be shrinking myself to fit a woman who only felt tall when I was on my knees. Part 5 is where the anger finally burns out and something else takes its place. Part 5, the quiet after the fire. Anger doesn't leave all at once. It leaks. First, it was everywhere. In my jaw, in my shoulders, in the way I snapped at baristas for getting my order wrong. I'd wake up pissed, go to bed pissed, replay conversations that never happened, and rewrite ones that already did. I wanted justice, then revenge, then silence in that order. The thing nobody tells you is that rage gets boring. One morning, about a month after the divorce was final, I woke up and didn't think about Ashley right away. That scared me more than missing her, because anger had been doing the work of pain. When it eased up, the sadness finally clocked in. I sat on the edge of my bed and just felt it. The wasted years, the lies, the way I questioned my own reality because she was so damn convincing. How many times she made me apologize for things I didn't do. How often I'd swallowed disrespect just to keep the peace. That's when it hit me. I wasn't just betrayed. I've been trained. Trained to doubt myself. Trained to stay quiet. Trained to accept less and call it love. That realization hurt worse than the affair. I started therapy not because I was broken, but because I didn't want to repeat patterns with a different face. The therapist, Mark, listened without flinching. When I described Ashley's behavior, he didn't sugarcoat it. That's emotional abuse, he said plainly. Hearing it out loud was like someone finally turning on a light. Ashley didn't disappear after that. She spiraled. Mutual friends told me things I never asked to hear. She'd been fired officially. Brian ghosted her the moment his world collapsed. The friends she chose over me suddenly had boundaries. She drank more, picked fights, played the victim hard. Once she sent me a photo of us from years ago, no caption. I didn't respond. That silence drove her crazier than anything I'd ever said. She sent another message days later. I hope you're happy. I typed back. I'm honest. Then I blocked her everywhere. That was the real ending. Not the courtroom, not the speech, that click, that decision to stop giving access to someone who only knew how to take. Life didn't magically get better. It got quieter. And in that quiet, I started hearing myself again. Cooked badly. I slept diagonally across the bed like a king. I went weeks without checking my phone after work. I laughed. Actual laughs, not defensive ones. I stopped explaining myself. One night, sitting alone with a beer, it hit me that Ashley never loved me for who I was. She loved what I provided. Stability, validation, a witness to her ambition. The moment I stopped clapping, she found someone else who would. And that's the lesson she'll never learn. A few months later, I ran into her by accident. Coffee shop, rainy afternoon. She looked different, not older, emptier, like someone whose reflection had finally stopped lying back. She saw me and smirked out of habit. So she said, still playing the wounded hero? I smiled. Not smug, not angry, just done. Still playing the same character. That wiped the smirk clean off her face. She leaned in, voice sharp. You think you won? I shook my head. No, I think I walked away. She scoffed. You'll be alone. I met her eyes. Better alone than auditioning for respect. She had nothing after that. No insult landed. No jab stuck. I paid for my coffee and left her standing there finally irrelevant. Outside. The rain felt good. Here's what I learned if anyone's listening. Betrayal doesn't break you. It reveals where you were already bending. Public humiliation hurts, but private self-betrayal hurts worse. And the most dangerous people aren't the ones who cheat. They're the ones who rewrite the story so you feel crazy for noticing. If you're with someone who lies easily, disrespects you openly, and only values you when you're useful, believe them. They're not confused. They're consistent. Walking away isn't weakness. It's clarity with a spine. And if someone ever thanks support at night while cutting you down in public, stand up, hand them the truth, and leave the scream you hear after. That's not regret. That's control dying. Part 6, The Reckoning. People think closure is a conversation. It's not. It's a moment when someone loses power over your mood. Mine came on a random Tuesday. I was at the gym halfing a workout when my phone lit up with a number I didn't recognize. I ignored it. It rang again. Third time I answered, annoyed. Mike, a shaky voice said, "It's Ashley." I almost hung up. Curiosity beat discipline. "What do you want?" She inhaled like she'd been underwater. I need to talk to you." "No," I said. Simple, clean. "Please," she said. 5 minutes. "I'm not okay." There it was. The hook. She'd used it 1,000 times. Crisis as currency. "I'm busy," I said. "Call someone else." "I don't have anyone else," she snapped, then caught herself. "I mean, just listen." I sighed. "Talk." She unloaded, fired, sued, settled for pennies, friends gone. Brian vanished. Her support system turned out to be rental furniture. She blamed the company. She blamed me. She blamed timing. She blamed everyone but the mirror. I made mistakes. She said like it physically hurt to pluralize it. You made choices. I corrected. She ignored that. I didn't think you'd actually do it. The speech. The box. I thought you'd just take it like always. There it was, the truth finally naked. You miscalculated, I said. She went quiet, then her voice sharpened. You enjoy destroying me. No, I said. I enjoyed stopping the destruction of myself. She laughed bitterly. You're so self-righteous now. No, I said again. I'm free. That word pissed her off. You think you're healed? She snapped. You think you're better than me? I paused. Not to be dramatic, to be honest. I think I see you clearly now, I said. And I don't like what I see. She exhaled hard. After everything, you still won't help me. After everything, I said, I finally won't. She hung up without saying goodbye. Same as always, exit first, process later. I finished my workout, drove home, made dinner, slept like a rock. That was the last time we ever spoke. Weeks passed, then months. The world didn't end. Kept going. So did I. I started dating again. Not seriously, not desperately, just honestly. No pretending, no shrinking, no explaining why I deserved basic respect. The first woman who looked at me and said, that sounds awful. I'm sorry. Instead of what did you do? That almost wrecked me. Turns out kindness hits harder when you've been starved of it. Ashley faded into background noise. Occasionally someone would mention her name like a warning label. I'd nod. No reaction. The opposite of love isn't hate. It's indifference. I finally understood that cliché because I'd earned it. One night, scrolling through old photos, I found a picture from years ago. Ashley and me at some rooftop party. She was smiling. I was leaning toward her like I always did, making space. I deleted it. Not out of anger, out of accuracy. That man didn't exist anymore. Here's the part people don't like to hear. Villains don't always lose loudly. Sometimes they just fade. No apology tour. No redemption arc, just consequences and silence. Ashley didn't become better. She became bitter. That's her choice. Mine was different. I learned that loyalty to the wrong person is still betrayal, just aimed inward. That love without respect is just convenience with nostalgia. And that humiliation can either shrink you or sharpen you. She tried to make me small. Instead, she taught me where my spine was. Part 7 is where I stop telling the story like it still hurts and start telling it like it happened. Part 7, the rewrite. There's a moment after a fire where everything smells like smoke. Even when the flames are gone, that's where I lived for a while. Not hurting, not healing, just recalibrating. I stopped telling the story like it was happening to me and started telling it like it happened. That shift matters. One makes you a passenger. The other puts your hands back on the wheel. I ran into people who only knew Ashley's version. The polished one. The poor, misunderstood, high achiever betrayed by an insecure husband. I didn't correct them. I didn't argue. I learned something important. If someone believes a liar without checking, they're not my audience. I also stopped defending myself in imaginary courtrooms in my head. Those late-night debates where I'd win with perfect comebacks. Total waste of energy. Silence had already said everything better. Here's the honest accounting. No poetry, no soft edges. I ignored red flags because I wanted the marriage to work. She exploited that because she wanted power. I loved her. She loved what I provided. That's not tragedy. That's mismatch. I thought about the night of the promotion speech more than I expected to. Not with pride, with clarity. I saw myself standing up, not angry. Decided I wasn't trying to hurt her. I was done protecting someone who made a sport out of humiliating me. People ask if it was too much, public, dramatic, nuclear. Here's the thing. Quiet men get loud exits. Ashley counted on my silence. She bet her dignity on it. Bad gamble. I didn't ruin her life. I stopped cushioning the fall she'd been digging for months. Consequences aren't cruelty just because they're inconvenient. The more distance I got, the more patterns I saw. How she'd test boundaries with jokes. How she'd rewrite arguments mid-sentence. How she'd provoke then play victim when I reacted. That wasn't passion. That was manipulation with a good resume. I also saw my part clearly without shame. I stayed too long. I explained myself too much. I confused patience with loyalty. That's on me and I own it. What I don't own anymore is her story about me. I started doing things just because I wanted to. Took a solo trip. Learned to say no without a speech attached. Built a life that didn't require approval. Funny thing, confidence grows fast when it's not constantly negotiated. Every now and then, Ashley would try to re-enter the frame. A mutual friend would say, "She asked about you." I'd shrug. The door was closed, not slammed. Closed. That difference matters. The last update I heard was months ago. She'd moved again. New job, lower title, new circle, same reputation. Turns out when you burn bridges loudly, the smoke follows you. I didn't celebrate that. I didn't need to. Here's what I tell any man sitting where I was. Wondering if he's crazy. Wondering if he deserves better but afraid to ask for it. If she disrespects you in private, she'll humiliate you in public. If she lies easily, she'll lie about you. If she only values you when you're useful, she doesn't value you. And listen closely to this one. Love that requires you to disappear isn't love, it's management. You don't need to scream. You don't need to spy. You don't need revenge fantasies or clever traps. You need truth and the courage to stop negotiating with someone who already left the agreement. I'm not bitter. Bitterness needs an audience. I'm not angry. Anger needs a target. I'm not even proud. I'm done. The story doesn't own me anymore. I own it. One more part left. That's where it finally ends. Part 8. The end that actually ends. The funny thing about endings is you don't notice them when they happen. They don't come with music or slow fades. They show up disguised as ordinary days. Mine showed up on a Sunday. No hangover, no dread, no urge to check my phone. I woke up early, made coffee, and realized I hadn't thought about Ashley in a week. Not in anger, not in curiosity, not even as a cautionary tale. That's when I knew the chapter was closed. Not because she apologized, she never did. Not because she suffered enough. There's no scoreboard for that. It ended because she no longer lived rent-free in my head. Because her voice, once loud and sharp, had faded into static. I took a walk that morning. Same streets I'd paced during the worst weeks, replaying arguments, rehearsing conversations that would never happen. This time, my shoulders were relaxed. My thoughts were quiet. Peace felt normal. That was new. I thought about the man I was before all of this. The guy who believed love meant endurance. Who thought loyalty meant staying silent. Who mistook emotional chaos for passion and called it commitment. That guy wasn't stupid. He was hopeful. But hope without boundaries is just self-neglect wearing a nice suit. If Ashley taught me anything, and I hate giving her credit, it's this. Disrespect doesn't start loud. It starts small. And I roll a joke at your expense. A lie that's framed is not a big deal. By the time it's public humiliation, the groundwork has already been laid. I ignored it because I didn't want to be the bad guy. Turns out being the bad guy in someone else's story is sometimes the price of becoming the good guy in your own. I don't hate her. Hate would mean she still matters. What I feel is closer to clarity. She is who she is, not misunderstood, not secretly wounded in a way that excuses the damage. Just someone who chose ego over integrity and called it ambition. And me, I chose myself. Late but completely. That promotion speech will probably follow her forever. The scream, the box, the fallout. People will whisper about it, reshape it, exaggerate it. She'll tell her version until it sounds believable even to her. Let her. My version doesn't need defending. I lived it. Here's the last truth. Stripped clean. I didn't expose her to be cruel. I stopped covering for her to survive. There's a difference. I'm not a hero. I didn't win a prize. I lost a marriage that should have ended sooner. I lost time. I lost illusions. And in exchange, I gained something better than closure. I gained self-respect. If someone reading this is standing where I once stood, confused, doubting, shrinking, hear this plainly. You don't need proof to leave disrespect. You don't need permission to choose dignity. You don't need to be perfect to deserve honesty. And you sure as hell don't need to clap while someone thanks support at night and calls you a failure. Stand up. Say what's true. Walk out. Not because it's dramatic, because it's necessary. That's the end. Not with forgiveness, not with revenge, but with a man who finally stopped asking for space and started taking.